Our story today takes us to here in Aurora, Texas, a small little obscure town just north of Dallas and Fort Worth, but more specifically to this place, the Aurora Cemetery. And this cemetery has a pretty strange claim to fame. It's reported that in 1897, a UFO crashed right around here. It crashed into a windmill and the pilot died, and the pilot and some of the wreckage is actually buried somewhere in this cemetery. So as the story goes, in the 1890s, there was a rash of UFO sightings all over the United States. And as a matter of fact, they didn't call them UFOs back then. They called them airships. And there were sightings all over the place, especially here in Texas. Well, as the story goes, one of them hit a windmill and crashed. And the single pilot of this airship died in that crash. And they took the wreckage and they took the body and they buried him somewhere in this cemetery. So come with me on this strange adventure while I look around this pretty obscure cemetery that may actually have an alien being buried somewhere in this cemetery. So it says this site is also well known because of the legend that a spaceship crashed nearby in 1897 and the pilot killed in the crash was buried here. So as I'm walking around the cemetery looking for where this alien is buried, look at this. James Steele over here was born on December 6th, 1813, died on August 31st, 1883. Wow, so this person could have actually been in the Civil War, maybe. Certainly lived through it. But as I'm walking around the cemetery, it's just another cemetery in the world. It doesn't seem like there's anything special about this for how significant this cemetery is for, well, the possibility of having an alien buried here. All the tombstones are just like any other tombstone that you would see in any other cemetery, and there's nothing to basically show you exactly where that alien is buried. There's no landmarks, there's no map that shows where it is. It's just somewhere around here, and I'm just gonna have to walk through this cemetery until I find it. Now, I do know that the tombstone that they had erected for this alien had long been vandalized and stolen, and I think a couple of years ago I heard that they built a new one for it. That one was stolen, so I don't think they built a new one for him, so I'm just gonna have to walk around until I find him. So the guy in that pickup truck over there just stopped and asked me if I was looking for the alien, and he pointed out that it was on this side of the cemetery over here. So apparently the locals really know about this legend, and apparently some strange long-haired dude talking into a camera, well, he's not here to see anything but the alien apparently. But apparently that alien is over on the left side of the cemetery over here. Let's go take a look. And this is it right here. This is the spot. And there was a grave marker here, but it's been stolen over the years, and well, I guess all we have left is this rock, and all we have is a clue. Somebody drew a little alien here, and people leaving car keys and dogs and money for the alien. But you'd think that if there was in fact an alien buried here, that I don't know, I would assume that they would draw more attention to it than just a rock under this tree. And this is the grave of the alien. What do we got here? Somebody for some reason left ramen noodles for the alien. It seems a little obscure that an alien was actually buried here. But as you can see, you've got all these really amazing tombstones here, and for a supposed alien that's buried here, all we've got is this rock. But if they had a monument here, somebody of course would have stolen that monument. But this is all we have to show that, well, there could be an alien buried under here. So here's my thoughts on this. Am I actually standing on the grave of an alien that crashed here in 1897? And during that time, there were a lot of UFO accounts that actually made the paper. I mean, people were seeing these airships in the sky, but you got to remember, this is years before the Wright brothers' first flight. There was no man-made objects flying through the sky in 1897. So for people to see these airships, these UFOs, they weren't man-made. So what were the people actually seeing? But to have one hit a windmill and crash here in this part of Texas and actually have the pilot, the alien, buried here in this cemetery and have very little fanfare about it and very little, I don't know, I mean, there just doesn't seem to be any sort of pilgrimage here. So is it that there is an alien buried here? Or is it that an epidemic, which was thought to be a meningitis epidemic in 1897, that caused the railroad to bypass Aurora, Texas? The people of Aurora needed some excuse to get people to actually come to Aurora, and so they made up a story about an alien that crashed here and was buried right here behind me in this cemetery. It raises the question, is that more likely what happened, or did an alien actually crash here in 1897 and the pilot buried here? And this was before all the UFO mania. This was before the scare of the 1950s that men from Mars were going to come down and enter into our consciousness through science fiction novellas and things like that. In 1897, well, people from outer space just didn't freak people out the way that it does now and for the past 50 years. Certainly since the Roswell crash of 1947, but I don't know. You guys comment below and let me know. Is there actually an alien buried right here in this cemetery right behind me that crashed in 1897? Or was it just a marketing ploy for people to come here to Aurora, Texas? But here's the thing. So a lot of scientists have taken an interest in this, and they've wanted to exhume the body to prove once and for all that there is an alien 6 feet below me right now. But the cemetery has a strict policy that bodies can only be exhumed by the next of kin. Well, obviously the alien had no next of kin to sign that, so this body has never been dug up, but it also raises the question, why hasn't anybody come here in the middle of the night with a shovel? I'm not condoning grave robbing, but it just seems that if there is evidence of aliens that have visited Earth, if there is evidence that there is life outside of our solar system, outside of our planet, why has nobody come here with a shovel to answer that question once and for all? Kind of makes you wonder. So again, you guys decide, comment below. Is there actually an alien buried right here behind me? Or is this all just a story made up to get people to come to a town that the railroad bypassed? But here's another interesting thing about this. Look at the area where this alien is supposedly buried. There is nothing growing around this area. But if you look at the other tombstones here, the grass is going right up to the tombstones. There's no open patch. There's trees growing, there's grass growing, all the way up to the tombstones. On every one of those tombstones across this entire area, there's no patch of dead grass. There's no patch where the grass isn't growing, except right here, where the alien is supposedly buried. There is no grass growing. But it's just really bizarre that there is no grass growing. It's just dirt. Nothing is growing here. Well, let's look at some of the things that people left here. For some reason, we've got an 8-ball rubber ducky. I don't understand the significance of that. We've got a Johnson City, Texas wooden nickel. Don't understand the significance of that. A guitar pick. A little skateboard that says Mark and GDP, let's say. Luggage tag with nothing on it. But this is the only marker that people have left money. I don't understand why people have left money here. Perhaps so that the alien can, I don't know, afford a new UFO to fly home. Who knows? But over here we've got a spoon. We've got a fuzzy keychain. Nothing that would really indicate that there's been any UFO aficionado pilgrimages to this site. But again, it still freaks me out that no grass is growing where this alien is supposedly buried. That's freaky. Interestingly, the wreckage of the crashed UFO was actually dumped down a well pretty close to that windmill. I'm not sure exactly where that windmill is. It's probably long gone, forgotten by history. But they actually recovered pieces of the crashed UFO, dumped it down a well, and reportedly some of that wreckage is actually buried with the alien here in this cemetery. So it would just seem to me that if there was evidence of alien beings, and that evidence is buried right here in this cemetery, and yet they haven't dug it up to find out exactly what it is because of some clause that is, let's face it, easily breakable. If there was a cemetery where they actually had evidence of life on other planets, would you make it as obscure as just a rock sitting by a tree? I have a tough time believing this story to be authentic. So for now, the legend of what is actually buried in that grave right over there is going to remain a mystery until somebody actually exhumes that body and proves to science once and for all that we are not alone in this universe, that aliens from other worlds actually do exist. So again, guys, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think is actually buried in that plot over there. Hit that subscribe button when you do hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Give this video a like. And until the next strange adventure, embrace your strange and rattle on.